set to bring you the ultimate in life hacks, bonkers inventions and crazy contraptions designed to make your life easier, more exciting and definitely more fun. And we've summoned a team of experts with science brains and funny bones to explain everything. From the ridiculous to the sublime. And make sure you strap in for the grand finale at our very own Hack HQ, where we create and construct an epic stunt, our very own supersized solutions to life's problems, big and small, with the help of Mike Sansom, pyrotechnician, chemist and engineer, and his human guinea pigs, Marcus Bronzy and Stephen Grant. For now, sit back, relax and put your feet up. Let us do the hard work so you don't have to. This is how hacks work. This episode is all about emergencies. You'll be safe wherever you roam with this arsenal of top tips that will save your life and your wallet.
At first, I was a little bit worried that this was just the weirdest cooking programme that I've ever watched.
From giving a kidnapper the slip to attracting attention on a stranded ship. And in our epic hack, you'll be seeing how you can supersize distress beacons to make sure you really get noticed in an emergency situation.
Now that you're going to hear from a long way away.
I think we can all agree that somebody tying you up with cables can be described as an emergency. Here's how to get out of it. Smash your wrists into your knee at about 700 kilometers per hour and you'll be free in no time. Of course, this wouldn't work if your knees were tied up as well.
You clearly need to have a lot of force to break out of those cable ties, but then again, you would be quite angry if somebody had tied you up with cable ties.
Angry/terrified.
Try this.
That just hurt. That just hurt my hand and my knee.
Watch out, criminals.
By swinging your arms downwards in this hack, you're able to overcome the tensile strength of the plastic that the cable tie is made of.
It's the emergency you hope you'll never find yourself in. And if you do, make sure you practice as much as that scary army guy. A Houdini hack, it! Everyone has at least 1 billion dead batteries in a drawer somewhere, but at How Hacks Work, 1 billion dead batteries is the difference between frostbite and warm toasty hands. By attaching a resistor to the battery terminals, or as I like to call them, the plus bit and the minus bit, the battery will slowly release the last of its energy in heat form.
This hack works because of the material within the resistor. When electrons flow through this material, the electrons impact the atoms inside that material. This impact is actually transferred into heat energy that you can use to warm your hands.
I think what I'm doing is I'm warming the battery up rather than the other way round.
The best way to warm up if you're suffering from hypothermia is actually to get warm drinks inside you to warm you up from the inside out.
This bitter battling battery hack will sadly not save your shivers for long. Maybe just remember to pack gloves. A lukewarm yes. If dog's a man's best friend, cats are surely a very close second. This next clip shows a novel way of rescuing your furry friend if they end up stuck in a tree. When using a ladder seemed impossible, these quick-thinking firefighters chose the next best route to moggy safety. They violently shook the tree until it fell out. Luckily for Tiddles, there was a landing slightly softer than snow this time. Thanks to some good old-fashioned muscle, this cat didn't even have to use up one of its 9 lives. These firefighters are the cat's whiskers. I'm feline good about this hack. A high-drama emergency hack, it! If you start choking with nobody else around, you're definitely in a serious emergency situation. This video could save your life. By firmly ramming your solar plexus into a hard object, like this chair back, you can dislodge a choking hazard.
When you're choking on an object, it means that it's gone down the wrong pipe. Usually it should go down your esophagus into your stomach, but instead it's gone down the trachea, which goes into your lungs and is restricting your airways.
We use our throat to swallow food and breathe, So how does your body make sure you don't end up inhaling breakfast? Our throat starts out as one main passageway, the pharynx, which then turns into two smaller channels, one for air known as the trachea, and the other for food called the esophagus. Luckily, this system also uses a special flap called the epiglottis to keep air and food on separate paths. As soon as we swallow food, the epiglottis is forced down over the air passage, which stops us from spluttering over every mouthful. All we have to do to keep this system running perfectly is to avoid eating too much too fast. So do yourself a favour and use your table manners. You'll live longer and make Granny proud. Choking is a serious issue, so this essential first aid hack is a definite hit. Coming up at Hack HQ, Mike will be giving Marcus a lesson in emergency pyrotechnics as he demonstrates some amazing miniature distress signal hacks. So far, we've shown you how to be a real-life James Bond and smashed your way out of cable tie restraints. And a handy warming tip using dead batteries. But don't abandon ship just yet, because we're about to show you how to get creative with some homemade emergency flares. And an enlightening way to solve a battery shortage. The biggest emergency at sea, except Jaws, is your boat sinking. This next hack shows as long as you have crayons on you, help is on the way. By melting down wax crayons and combining them with that potassium nitrate everyone has lying around, you too can create your very own emergency flares.
At first, I was a little bit worried that this was just the weirdest cooking programme that I've ever watched.
I do think if your boat was sinking, it's quite a lot of rigmarole. Finding the crayons, melting the crayons, finding the powders.
I think I may be leaning towards agreeing with George, which is frightening.
You actually need special chemicals that vaporise in order to make coloured smokes, and those chemicals are not usually in coloured crayons.
If you're going to take crayons, saucepans and chemicals on your next trip into the unknown, you may as well take a few flares too. This is an interesting but impractical miss. Drones have featured a lot on this show, but this next video shows you how they can actually be used to help save lives. When this Chinese fisherman found himself stranded in torrid waters, his rescuers sent in a drone to deliver a precious emergency lifesaver. If you're ever having an argument with your partner about drones being a waste of money, just show them this video. This clip finally proves that drones aren't exclusively for use by annoying teenagers or men going through a midlife crisis. They're actually useful. Any hack that literally saves a human's life has got to be awesome, right? A heroic hack hit! The torch is an essential tool for any explorer, but running out of battery in the wilderness could spell emergency. Here's how to keep that light shining. If one of your batteries dies, simply replace it with a battery-sized object that can conduct electricity.
All metals conduct electricity, although some are better at it than others. Unfortunately, the best conductors of electricity are also some of the most expensive. You've got things like gold and silver, which are top-notch, but unfortunately they're not cheap.
You can't put a price on power in an emergency though, Chris. But what is it about batteries that makes them so energising? Any battery stashes away its power in the form of chemical potential energy. That's energy that will be generated by chemical reactions inside the battery. There are three main parts to a battery: two different electrical conductors called electrodes, and a chemical mix in between them called an electrolyte. When the two sides of the battery are connected, the chemicals in the electrolyte start to break apart, releasing electrically charged particles. Some of these particles travel from one electrode to the other to make an electric current that can be used to power things. The rest of them travel through the electrolyte. When all of the original chemicals in the electrolyte have been broken down, that's game over. Luckily though, with this battery hack, you can make it through the next emergency and live to fight another day. A life-saving hack hit! Let's power our way over to Hack HQ now. Mike is prepping for an emergency, and I've got a feeling it's gonna get epic.
Mike, I heard there's an emergency. What's going on, mate?
What are you doing?
Finally losing the plot by the looks of it.
I heard there was an emergency.
Yeah, take the mask off. I can barely hear you in that. What's with the fire extinguisher?
Emergency, mate.
Emergency. Yes, emergency, but we're not putting out an emergency here.
Right.
We're going to signal an emergency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've heard of flares, yeah? Distress
Yeah.
flares?
They're like little firework things,
Similar
aren't
to
they?
fireworks, yeah.
Right.
I believe that is a scientific name, yes.
Right, what's that?
So these are tiny little flares. And when I light them, you'll see exactly what happens. And we light this. Look at that.
Hey,
A distress flare.
bit of a small one.
It is a bit of a small one.
What's actually going on here, though?
Okay, so there's lots of colour being produced, and there's some things burning. So you've got a fuel, and you've got an oxidizer, and that produces a nice, beautiful light.
I know beauty is the first thing I look for in a distress beacon.
That's really cool, but when the light goes out,
Yeah.
there's no more signal. Is there anything that you can do that lasts
But there
a bit
is
longer?
smoke, right? We can colour the smoke.
Okay.
So the next thing I've got is a tiny bit of coloured smoke.
Right.
And if I light this one, there we go.
Hey.
And it lingers, as you can see, the workshop is full of smoke. So imagine that out at sea, all of that orange smoke floating past the sea, you can't miss it.
And it would last for a lot longer than a flare that would
Yeah.
go off, but as soon as the flare is off, you can't really see anything.
It's gone. So the main ingredient of this is potassium chlorate.
Right.
So potassium chlorate is the oxidizing agent. That provides lots of oxygen to the combustion. And then you've got lactose, this stuff here, which is sugar.
Right.
Yeah.
They really do add sugar to everything these days, don't they?
And that provides the fuel for the potassium chlorate to aid the burn.
Okay, cool. Right, so you show me a flare that works, which is really bright. You show
Yep.
me smoke, which lasts for a long time. What if I can't see you, though?
I'm so pleased you asked. We've got another thing called flash powder.
Flash powder.
Sounds like a superhero.
Now, flash powder is made up of a metal powder and an oxidizer. So the oxidizer in that combustion was potassium chlorate.
Right.
In this case, it's potassium perchlorate. So it has one more atom of oxygen in the oxidizer.
And what does that do to it, having that one more atom of oxygen?
It has a lot more oxygen to aid burning. So it'll burn a lot quicker.
Right.
Just two components in flash powder.
Okay.
Right, I'm going to let you light this one.
That's never a good sign.
I'll start the blowtorch. There you go.
Okay.
Hit it.
Hey! I feel like a magician there. But I still don't get how that's going to work if you're not in my line of sight.
No, but you could see it because it's a nice big flash.
Right.
This stuff makes a bang, but you have to confine it.
Okay.
And it just so happens I've got a bit that has been confined.
So what's going on inside this?
Okay, so I've got a tiny bit of fuse,
Right.
and that leads into the flash powder that I confined inside. So about the same amount, about 0.5 of a gram of flash powder. But that tiny amount, with that single bit of confinement from the paper, is enough to blow off your hand.
Here we go. I was wondering when he'd bring up explosions.
Okay, so by putting something very explosive or very reactive in a really tight space,
Yep.
it makes a big noise when it releases.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah. So we need to put it in something, and I've got this concussion pod here.
A concussion pod.
A concussion pod.
Yes, Marcus. Sounds like trouble to me, too.
This is a big steel pod that we put our banger in,
Yeah.
and it saves us. You've got pieces of paper that can travel at supersonic speeds, and they will go through you. Right, so this is going to be really loud, so you need ear defenders for this one.
Right.
Right, I'm going to let you light it.
Hey.
I'm going to let you light it.
All right.
Arm's length.
Okay.
And then take a step back.
Mike, I always feel a certain way when you're standing just behind me when we're doing stuff like this.
So do we, Marcus.
That's it, it's lit. Right. Oh!
What? That was really loud. I didn't just hear that, I felt that. That went
Goes
right
straight through
me.
you, doesn't it?
How loud was that?
So think of an aeroplane taking off. That's really loud. It is much louder than that.
Great set of emergency hacks there, Mike. I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
But we can go bigger.
Let's do it.
Do it.
This is the part of the show where I start getting a bit nervous. So Mike is going bigger with his epic emergency hack, which I can exclusively reveal includes more chemicals and far more colours on a massive field. Classic Mike. We'll definitely be back later to see what carnage he causes. I feel an SOS coming on. So far we've seen a colourful way to call for help and a simple solution to your battery burning out. And you've also seen Marcus Bronzy jump like a kitten as Mike showed him just how loud distress signals can be. Still to come, we've got a top tip to hack hydration in an emergency. a lesson in first aid. If you've seen any action movie in the last 30 years, you probably have a good idea how to break a door down in an emergency, right? Wrong! Turns out the best way to get this task done is to plant one foot firmly on the floor and use your other to boot the door just where the lock is. It may sound counterintuitive, but believe it or not, the weakest part of any door is right behind the lock. Now all you need to put Bruce Willis to shame is a cool one-liner to bust out at your next emergency. A Hollywood-style hack. Hit! An essential part of being prepared for that next emergency is scrubbing up on those basic first aid skills. And when it comes to putting on a plaster, this next clip is revolutionary. By cutting into the fabric on either side of the plaster, you can wrap it around your finger far more efficiently than normal.
Putting a plaster on a wound is a good idea to keep bacteria and dirt out of that wound, but the key thing is to make sure that that wound is clean before you put the plaster on.
The way your body heals itself is that once it's formed the scab, it's formed a protective layer against bacteria. This means it can grow skin underneath, and then gradually the scab can fall off.
This Pimp My Plaster tip is a real lifesaver for shoddy first aiders. A healing hack. Hit! Now we all know that there is no greater peril than having no water. So this next hack shows us how combining a humble water bottle and a craft knife is a brilliantly cheap way of getting cool, fresh water in an emergency. By increasing the surface area of the bottle in this way, you can make a small bottle mega efficient at collecting rain.
It's important to replenish the water that we have in our bodies because we're constantly losing it through breathing and sweating and digestion processes. It's very important for us to do things like harnessing rainwater, as that's a really brilliant source of fresh water for us to be able to use.
If you did it the other way round, then you could save the effort of having to decant it. You could just lie on your back with the top in your mouth.
This eco-friendly tip will make sure you're always watered in an emergency situation. An H2O hack. Hit! Over to Hack HQ. The countdown is over and the fuses are lit. There's no cannon too big, no dynamite too strong for Mike to handle. And with his trusty guinea pig Marcus, he'll try anything so that you don't have to. Earlier, Mike showed us a myriad of ways you can call for attention in an emergency, with some terrific but tiny demonstrations. But now Mike is doing what he does best. He's going to supersize those miniature marvels to show how you can get attention no matter how epic the emergency.
Right, after what I've seen in the workshop, I'm looking forward to this, Mike.
This is a much, much bigger version.
These are a lot brighter then, why?
A lot brighter. So they're much bigger. There's got a lot more powder inside.
Right.
And the thing that makes them bright is the metallic fuel. Okay. So in these, there'll be magnesium burning. And we all know that magnesium burns intensely bright. So these ones have also got barium salts in them, which make them green. Down there, we've got strontium salts to make them red. And further down, we've got some potassium and some copper salts to make them blue. But we did smoke as well, so come up here.
All right, let's go.
This'll be interesting. Not quite sure how you supersize smoke, Mike. Oh, of course, with a big metal box.
So these are our smokes down here.
Okay.
They're just placed on the ground. Now these ones burn for about 30 seconds. It's a purple one, purple and blue, and then we've got different colours all the way down.
Okay.
So we'll definitely see a lot of other colours of the rainbow. Right, on to the next one.
This must be where the boom comes in.
So these are called cakes.
Oh, I love cakes. Might consider my interest piqued.
And these have a little smoke unit inside that gets propelled straight up into the sky, around 20 to 30 metres.
Oh, so not that type of cake.
It gets that smoke right up in the air, so hopefully we'll be able to see it for further away.
There's one more thing that I need to ask you about there. That looks serious. What is this?
This one is the serious one. This is my favourite one.
Right.
So these are the maroons. Now, these are aerial maroons. If you come down here, put one of these up, it's big, yeah?
So bearing in mind, the one that made a massive, massive noise and caved my chest in, actually,
yeah,
in the workshop was about the size of, I don't know, half of my little finger.
Yeah.
This is like a pear-sized version of the same thing.
Yeah, completely. So that has about 50 to 75 grams of flash powder in it. And if you think we only used half a gram in the workshop, that going up into the air, this goes to about 100 metres before it explodes. It's going to be heard for kilometres away.
So this is going to be a big bang.
Big, big bang. But not only just one, we've got 16 of them.
Not like Mike to go over the top.
And they're all set to go off at the same time. So, bang, into the sky, big boom. Yeah.
Tell you what, Mike, this has been a great set of emergency hacks. I'm ready to push the button on
Let's
these.
go and push a button.
Are you sure you don't want to maybe call a loved one last time, Marcus?
You press the button.
Right, let me get my gloves off then. Want to be pushing the right buttons?
Right, it's
Okay.
all armed and ready to go. So all you need to do is press 1 to 7, but I'll tell you when to press the buttons, okay?
Okay.
So let's go with number 1. Right, you see that? That is a beautiful red flare, and see how intensely bright it is.
Yes, yes, really, really bright.
So that's because of the magnesium in it burning, and then the strontium is producing the red.
Okay.
But if you've got an emergency, you want to set off a few more, don't you? So you can really see it. Hit number 2. Look at that.
Yes!
So we've got loads of colour now. We've got green, which is the barium source. We've got red, which is the strontium source.
Right.
Then we've got a purple at the end, which is from potassium.
Right. That is awesome. I mean, like, they're really, really bright. A little bit of smoke coming off them as well.
Smoke, yeah. The smoke's pretty good, but it's not the right colour.
Okay.
We want some coloured smoke.
Right.
Let's hit the next button.
Button number 3?
Go for it, yeah. There we go.
Hey!
So we've got some blue smoke, some orange smoke, and some red smoke flaring.
Yes. Look at those. They're
And
really
you can
vivid
really
colours.
see that, can't you?
Yeah, they really stand
and
out.
that will stick close to the ground at the moment. So as it's burning, it's going to get the smoke flowing up the hill, but you can see it from a long, long way away. And of course, it will linger a long time as well.
It's like kind of a coloured fog going across the field right now.
But they don't burn for too long. So now hit number 4.
Ha!
Look at that.
Look at that.
So now we've got a whole rainbow of colours. We've got your green, we've got orange, which is great for a distress flare. And then we've got purple, pink, and then our yellow.
I've got to say,
look at that.
I'm feeling quite arty at the moment. This looks
really
quite
impressive,
artistic.
isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's quite low to the ground. So now press number 5 and see what happens. We've got smoke, we've got noise, and look at that, you're going to see that for miles, and you're going to hear it for miles as well.
I've got to say, this is the most fun distress signal I've ever seen.
We had our maroons in there.
Yes.
But now, hit number 6.
Whoa!
Look! Now that you're going to hear from a long way away. But I want to feel it. Hit number 7.
Are you sure about this?
I'm sure about it. Go for it.
What was that?
Those were our ground maroons. I mean, if you didn't hear those ones, you're certainly going to hear those, aren't you?
I'll tell you what, someone's going to think there's a real emergency going on here, mate.
There is. Mike's out of explosives.
But what a great emergency hack. Well done.
Mike, you've done it again. I'm going to need to sit down, mate.
Maybe you need a doctor. If only you had some kind of distress flare. Time for me to fire a flare to signal the end of our emergency episode. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.